Krishna. My name is Anangalata Devi Dāsī, as those of you who have been following this series know. And as promised, I'm here with my dear godsister, Līlā-Svarūpiṇī Devī Dāsī. You all throughout this series have heard a lot from me on this topic, and I am deeply overjoyed and grateful for this busy mama of four to be here and share in this topic with us. So I know I said that this was going to be an interview. I don't have, as I was trying to prepare and think about this topic, it was hard for me to come up with questions. It just felt like a bit artificial, and so I just want this to be a discussion. So whatever you feel like, usually people start with an introduction. I'm just gonna leave it to you and we'll just flow from there.
I agree. I was trying to prepare and think of like what points I wanted to bring up, and I thought, this is really like a mutual conversation. So this video series you have is on chastity
and celibacy.
So I'd like to hear a little from you, because I haven't even watched your videos of what that has been for you.
Yeah. So how it was so difficult throughout this entire process, because I was messaging you, Līlā-Svarūpiṇī, was hearing my little text messages of like, I just recorded and like, I'm so excited to have you. But there's so much that I wanted to cover and I just couldn't for the sake of this. So the flow that have been watching so far is a little bit about my story in terms of being in this relationship that right before coming to Krishna consciousness, and sort of ending that, starting my celibacy journey and my practice. The next video was focused on the way that I didn't know this at the time, but it was because I was chanting at the same time of living this lifestyle and honoring Krishna Prasadam, that by the control of the tongue, I ended up having that like aha moment of, I don't want this anymore, and kind of giving some philosophical points as to why that was the case. And then in the third video, I shared more personally a little bit about femininity and it being, this is where I could just swim in this ocean forever, but I just briefly introduced about, the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Radha and Sri Krishna, both, and then how us being part and parcel of that energy, kind of that feminine form that is a subservient energy to Krishna, and how it's to be used in service and protected. I cut out a lot of content, so a lot of it didn't make it, but then bringing it to embodiment practices. And so, okay, I'm in this woman's form. It's a reflection of a divine, feminine energy, which is Sri Radha, without getting too much into detail of the intimacy, and sharing about the menstrual cycle and Odissi dance as forms of embodiment practice.
And so that was your third video.
Yes.
And so this is your fourth video.
Yes.
Very good.
Was that too much? Did
that make sense?
Thank
you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you spoke about your journey in coming to chastity. And if you'd like to hear a little bit about my journey in coming to chastity, briefly, because I have another video on my own journey,
which
that won't be played in this interview. So just to touch on what you were saying about that nature of all of us as souls to have a feminine nature, that prakriti, which is that subservient feminine energy of the Lord, and the Lord being the only masculine. However, there are so many men on this planet and in different universes, Lord Shiva himself, who is the ultimate male, right? So how do we not identify with these bodies, because we're spirit soul, and still imbibe and practice either our masculinity or our femininity? I say that right?
Femininity.
I have an issue with saying a few words. That is Saraswati I pray to for proper speech. So as a female in this body, when I grew up, in the culture that I grew up in America, in Sarasota, Florida, being a woman was almost like being weaker than. And because of that, I ended up putting on this artificial persona, this very defensive, masculine, I can stick up for myself, I can protect myself, and trying to, what I know now through my own process of self-realization and inner deep reflection was that was a coping mechanism to try to protect my heart. And although it may have externally felt like it was working, it actually wasn't working at all. It was completely taking me away from my heart. It was almost like it was protecting my heart from me. And so I grew up, although I was always into, being beautiful, and I would wear like beautiful clothing, and I love to do my makeup and my hair, which I still love to do.
And beautifully so.
Oh, thank you. I mean, look at your hair. It looks amazing today, by the way. I love your curl pattern.
We planned the video. I was like, do you want to come today? I'm like, selfishly, can you come on Thursday? I'm like, I have a series of things that need to happen.
Perfect. My hair needs to happen. Looks really good, by the way. So yeah, I've always loved beauty, and now I know a little more about Vedic astrology and why I love beauty, because of my nakshatra being in Purvashada, who is the goddess Venus, femininity. Yes. And so ironic, you're interviewing me and I still can't pronounce that word.
Because you embody it.
I can't even speak it, I know.
No lip service here, all full embodiment.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of healing since then. And what I can say is that during those years of very painful experiences, externally and internally, that not embodying my female form almost caused myself to abuse it. And because I was abusing it, other people were also taking advantage of that abuse and seeing me like as an easy target. And there was a lot of trauma that happened, and I'm so grateful for the process of self-realization and for my guru and my teachers and all of the Vaishnavis who have helped me heal those parts. But there was a lot of healing that needed to happen, like years and years of healing, and I'm still healing, but I can say confidently that I'm on the other side. And on the other side, I think back to that person, to that, Līlā-Svarūpiṇī, who is then known as Alexis, with so much compassion and so much love, because that's the one thing I was not offering myself, was compassion and love, which is what? That is the embodiment of the motherhood, the woman nature, compassion. A little child gets hurt, somebody hurts, how can I help you? A man is different. And of course the father or the man's going to be there, but the comfort is different. Who do you run to when you're hurt as a young child? Mommy. Right. Why? Because that's the relationship, that's the nature. So,
may I share a little, just in kind of reflecting on the different moods between Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Krishna was like, I'm just gonna come and do my thing and you're gonna follow. And he's like, follow. And then Lord Chaitanya, who of course is Sri Radha and Krishna to combine, is like, no, this is how you do. Let me teach you. Let me give it to you.
Right? So he's embodying Srimati Radharani's mood, which is just complete absorption and love of Krishna. And so that's a really amazing example. So I think my journey is a very unique one, and I'm very grateful for it. Although there is a lot of pain associated with it, I'm very grateful for the experience as I have now, and being able to tell the difference of what it means to be a woman, and really accept how beautiful and how soft that journey can be. When we listen to the prayers and the translations of almost every single prayer in the Vaishnava tradition, we're always worshiping the Lord and Srimati Radharani, who has, a lotus face, lotus eyes, lotus feet. Well, what is a lotus? A lotus flower, which grows from the mud, comes all the way up and sprouts with such soft petals, such beauty. There's pink lotuses, white lotuses, blue lotuses, but they're so colorful, they're so beautiful, and most importantly, the petals are so soft. And so the Lord's lotus feet are soft, the Lord's lotus eyes, so there's that softness. And who are we to try to harden ourselves and harden that lotus that is our connection with God? And so embodying, I was thinking about that on the way over here. Like, we're always praying to the lotus-eyed Lord. He's not like the hardened, concrete-eyed Lord. Like, no, there's a softness. And I feel like in the woman body, we get to really just like imbibe that softness, and it's very important. And it's really hard in Kali Yuga, this age, to try to be soft because we don't feel protected. We don't feel safe. Especially like specifically this part of Kali Yuga where there's news and media and just such a heavy influence of movies, songs, like advertisements. It's like so harsh and so almost like piercing. There's no softness, there's no sweetness, there's no chastity. It can be quite damaging and very confusing, especially for a young woman.
And what's even more maybe pertinent is that it can be so desensitized that a young woman doesn't even feel that it's damaging and confusing until maybe later on that their process, like as it has for us and it may have for others, their process of healing and journeying through life has shown them, just see how much I've really been affected.
Because they're not aware of themselves. Because this whole propaganda of this age is to be externally aware. And the only reason that we are now in this different mindset, this different consciousness, is because we decided, let's see what's going on inside. Let's stop looking outside. Let's stop looking outside at the movies, the media, the propaganda, all of this stuff, and start like, hold on a second, what's going on with me? And so that's like, okay, what's the first thing going on with me? Is I'm in a woman's body.
That's 5 years right there of process.
Right? like,
what does that even mean? Like, how do I unwire all my misconceptions?
There's so much unwiring, and it's so unfortunate. And that's something I really have appreciated learning Odissi, especially from my different teachers, but specifically Sujata Mohapatra, who is Indian, grew up in India, and when she teaches, she's guru. Like, there's no oh, you're doing so beautifully. It's like, no, sit lower. If you do good, you may get like a but that's, however, in her dealings with me outside of dance, she's so soft. She's so innocent. There's that innocence there in these cultures that haven't been affected by the world agenda, whatever's happening, like it does in the West and these other more advanced countries. You see these village people in Nepal, or even the African countries, and the women they are so empowered, and yet when they giggle, it's like looking at a little girl. They have this sweetness, this softness that hasn't artificially been covered and hard.
Very interesting.
And something I thought was amazing, because I was telling my husband that we were going to have this interview, and he said to me that Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement in the West, and all over the world, he said that when the women of this movement, the devotees, so they've already been devotees, they're initiated by Srila Prabhupada, they come to India, and the men from India would hide because they were so, what was the word? Intimidating, that's the word. They were so intimidating. Well, how could a woman intimidate a man?
All these opposite of
but
nurturing
why?
And womanly.
Exactly, but why? I'm sure they weren't like intentionally trying to, like scold the men, but just their energy fields were not soft. They've been so hardened, so defensive. Oh, you're not going to hurt me. Right. I'm equal than you. You're gonna, you can't do that to me, and this and this, and like that energy. It can be so harmful, not just to the outsiders. That's not the point. It's how that does it, how it affects us.
And it's understandably so. And I could say so many words after that statement. And there's many directions, but like what's kind of coming is like, and that's sort of what my experience has been in taking this period of time of celibacy and chastity. Well, the period of time of chastity is not ending, but it's understandably so, because there isn't safety. And part of me taking this like vow for myself has given me, it's me giving myself that safety, because in the least victim blaming way, I am consciously not putting myself into the crossfires of potential unsafety. So because I am taking this time to kind of be in my own home and provide for myself and heal, I'm creating a safe little, you know, flower pot to be able to blossom safely. And until, because I will be healed from different patterns, I can accept a man and a husband who can also provide that safety.
Who can nurture you and water you so your flower can sprout. And that's what my husband did for me, hands down, was, oh my gosh, when he met me, I think of it and I'm like, thank you for putting up with me.
I'm just gonna shift weight my knees a little.
Yeah. We're sitting on the ground. Yeah. So that's something that my husband really did for me, was give me this sense of safety and this sense of protection. And it can be a little challenging, you know, for ourselves and whatever we feel when we read the words of Srila Prabhupada that says, you know, women need protection. A woman should not be left without protection or left alone. It's like, what do you mean? I can take care of myself.
Right.
Like, you know, what do you mean I need protection? Protection from who? Who's going to protect me? It's coming from a place of pain. Because nobody protected me in the past, and I have to protect myself now. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Right.
You're like, yeah, like I have flourished in protection. With my husband protecting me, I mean, look at me, like my whole life has completely changed.
Right.
You know, when I had no protection, my father, he did not protect me in the proper way that a father should. And therefore, he didn't protect my mother. And my mother, that nurturing, that love that my mother should have given to me was not there. You know, they split at a very early age, and she's still alone. She still doesn't have that protection. She's so hardened. Her heart is so hardened. And, you know, I'm so grateful for the realizations that I've had, and I can have compassion and understanding on her, but not be in that place anymore. And be in this place of nurturing. And I have 3 children outside and 1 inside, and to be able to accept my womanly, loving, soft nature. Of course, I'm also, in my marriage, I'm the one that makes the rules and the bedtime and all of this stuff, but of course that's coming also from a place of nurture. And I cannot nurture anyone unless I nurture myself, and that's what you're doing, and that's so powerful. And I wish that I would have done that for myself, but not really, because I had to have my journey. You know,
And
but
there's no regret.
But certainly my daughter and my nieces,
Right.
You know, to nurture themselves and love themselves, build themselves a beautiful pot with fertilized soil, and, you know, and so when the chance does come for the proper protection, you know it. Krishna, the Lord, he gives you that indication. I married my husband because I heard the Lord so strongly say, this is your husband, now accept him. I was like, whoa. That was a really strong voice I've never heard before. Okay. and that was that. There was no more question, because the tendency was to run and flee. Fear of commitment, all these things that I had experienced with so many other relationships, you know, Krishna was like, no, he accepts him. Yeah. So I surrendered.
Right.
And, you know, it's not artificial. It's very natural. And, you know, it just gives me this ability to feel safe, to start my healing process. You know, I can focus on me now.
Right.
I can focus on my children, I can focus on my husband, but most importantly, I can focus on me. And so that's the beauty of this time period in a young woman's life, to be able to focus on yourself. And you can get so distracted by being in a relationship that you're not ready for. And even if you are ready, if it's not the right person, and it's not going to be a commitment for life. Something that is so powerful, especially in this Hare Krishna community, is there have been so many young women, including my niece, that amaze me with having one partner, knowing that it's the one, and getting married and not being that. Because in America, that doesn't happen. That may happen in India and other places, and then you think like, oh, well, there's arranged marriages, and they get, but it's like, to actually see someone being raised in America, but still have this like protection of chastity, of vows, of devotion, and to find someone like my amazing niece Vrindavani and Granga, they met, 16 years old, and they're getting married. They're in their 20s now, and they're so perfect for each other. And it's like one partner for life. Yes, that's the way that it should be. She will have protection. And so many others. It's so inspiring to me, and that's what I want for my daughter. And how can that happen other than knowing who you are, who she is, her relationship with God, nurturing herself, so when the right person does come along, she can recognize him. Right. She's in communication with the Lord in the heart, and he says, yes, him. Instead of, no, not him. And if it is no, not him, it's done. Right. And being a young person, of course, like the hormones are coming and you want to know, and it's like the perfect time, to fall in love. What's the word for it? They say like puppy love or something, right? Right. Actually, my son has his first crush, right now. He's 7 years old. It just happened on Valentine's Day, which was yesterday, which is so sweet. And I'm just appreciating like the sweetness and the innocence. Of course, they're way too young, but when you're young, these tendencies start to develop, and you're like looking at the other sex, and you're like, oh, like she's pretty, and she's cute, right? And so this happens, and of course it's natural. And so what do we do as young women? We stay with other young women, and we talk, and we giggle, and we have fun with it, and then we continue to do our own nurturing instead of jump.
I guess ideally, or if that's, it's so nuanced, because I recognize how, that wasn't my journey for a long time, and I know that for a period of time it wasn't a part of your journey either. And so I guess for those who cross this video, it's also has to happen. I really loved what you said when you're you don't wish that it was any other way, because that it's your journey and that's what needed to happen. And so I'm also a full proponent of do whatever you need to do, whatever timing you need to do it for it to be authentic. I would argue that it can't be artificially imposed, but I have a really strong intention around these videos going out to touch the hearts of women at the right time, even if your timing is not now. And so chances are, if you're watching this, it might be the time, or it might be the time to just be exposed to the perspective. And that is completely valid, because I've had my walk in a very different lifestyle, and I did not choose this until it was time for me. And that's why now, over 4 years later, I'm so resolute, because this wasn't imposed on me. And which is also why I share these other practices, because it also didn't come out of nowhere. I didn't just wake up one day and be like, this is it. It was, there was a purificatory process, which is why I also am offering that, and I have in the previous videos.
Yeah, and I want to just say that, your desire to live in this way, as you just said, didn't come from nowhere, right? So it all starts with a little thought. It starts with a desire. And if you're sincere in it and you pray, the Lord will give you opportunity. And the most important part of any transformation, any healing, any lifestyle change, any type of lifestyle change, diet, exercise, we can go to all material or spiritual, the foundation is the association. And so once you came to the association of devotees, everything started to shift your perspective. Oh, wow, the same for me, and because of these, people that I was just saying, these young women these young couples, they're in this movement, they have this association. In India, in these other cultures, they have this association. It is normalized.
Right.
And so for us, for most of the viewers watching,
interesting.
there's this association that we're exposed to is artificial, and it's imposing it on us. And so unless and until we shift into a different association, like for example, you know, you can see me now, but I'm a recovering from a very heavy drug addiction for many, many years. And I tried so hard to stop over and over and over again. Rehabs, jails, programs, NA, Suboxone, so many different types of medical interventions. And none of it could last because I kept going back to the same association, the same set of friends, until I came to the Hare Krishna temple, and I tried to bring my friends to come into the spiritual life, and they didn't want it. We just started to separate, and my desires started to become a lot different than where they were. And then Krishna put my husband in my life, and boom, right. One thing after another. I left that place, lived here in Alachua, have nothing but association with devotees, and everything shifted for me. And I just think like, wow, oh my gosh, what difference would it be if I hadn't have moved, you know? So be gentle with yourself wherever you are, your friendships, and at the same time, if you have a desire, if this interests you at all, you know, make a prayer and see what he does. So that would be my suggestion for these young women, like in the same way that happened to you and for me.
Thank you so much for sharing everything. When in the beginning, when you were showing the different mudras, while describing the masculine and feminine energies and the embodiment in the Lord, I was just looking at you. I'm like, I'm so glad that you're here, because so many things that you shared and showed were what I was trying to communicate in words. And I'm just so grateful that I'm like, oh, okay. The message came through. It didn't, like, I wasn't fully satisfied with my ability to portray it, and you kind of like finished all these things that I missed. I'm like,
thank you.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes, so I guess, I mean, I'll have different links in the description. I'm not quite sure what. I definitely want to link to your video with more description on Līlā-Svarūpiṇī's life before and here now. Is I feel very complete and just happy and joyous. I got my share in terms of these videos and the months of pouring it in. I really wanted to hold this space for what you are going to come and share so beautifully. So if there's anything else, I want to give you that space before we close out.
I think just the last thing would be, as you were saying, the differences between the masculine and the feminine. The feminine can only happen where there's the proper masculine energy. The masculine happens completely with the feminine energy. And that's the dynamic that we see between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Srimati Radharani, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Shiva, Mother Parvati, all of the divine couples. There's a couple. So they're together. And so as a woman, how can we, if we're not in a relationship, if you're not in a relationship with another man, how can you flourish as a woman? In the same way, how can a man flourish as a man without that relationship with the Lord in the heart? Let that develop. Find your protection there. Find your safety there. And allow yourself to flourish. And then at the right time and the right circumstances, it will manifest in a physical body with a man you can marry and be with, or, you know, some men stay brahmachari or sannyas, you know, forever, and so that's fine. That's their relationship with Krishna. But for a woman, we can really feel complete when we have the proper masculine energy, and that happens when we can imbibe our own feminine energy first. Have that chassity to ourselves, to the Lord, and then just flourish when you do find the right partner, like I have. And I'm so grateful that Krishna arranged for my divinely arranged marriage. Thank you, God.
Divinely arranged marriages.
Yes.
For all. May Krishna divinely arranged.
Yeah, and it comes in the perfect timing. Everyone has different stars, different charts.
Oh, goodness.
They're learning so much about astrology. My husband and I just got like little compatibility reading yesterday from an amazing devotee astrologer here in Alachua, and it was just so confirming to see our different natures. And so everyone has different times in their lives, different people they're going to connect with, a completely different journey, every single one of us. It's personalism, it's not identicalism, it's not,
yes,
you know, so
yes.
Be soft with yourself always.
And feel free to correspond with me, and I don't say this in a way of like any sort of expert advice giving, but association, right? And dialogue, and it may be the case that you don't have anyone in your life who similarly resonates, and so I'd love to offer, I'll have a contact form that's on my website, so that I'd love to dialogue about it and hear your thoughts and exchange, because it's really fortifying.
And it's a conversation, just like we got to have. So yes, everyone converse with Anangalata. She has so much to share, and I'm sure all of you do too.
Thank you so much. I know you have to go pick up your dear little ones. Just a daughter?
Yes, just my little feminine daughter, who's so sweet.
So
much different than my voice. There's the masculine and there's the feminine, and it shows right away from early childhood.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and share with me. And yeah, see you on Sunday for dance class.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Beautiful.
So good.
Yay.